You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me.
I never got an answer out of it.
Were you friends up to that point?
Yes. Like, we were friends till he left, you know, and we had a mentor-mentee kind of relationship, you know?
You just want to cry because I abandoned you. I came back. I didn't want to make friends. I said very publicly, I'm here to make money. And next week, oh baby, I get to make a boatload of cash, making you the victim you so badly want to be, little brother. You left. You wanted this place to die with the echoes of those CM Punk chants. You went on your buddy's podcast, tried to tear this place down.
Every day you tell me this is a team effort, but every day it's individual effort by me to find what's necessary to even come here.
When that didn't work, you took every single shot you could to try to kill this place, and you still couldn't do it. And then you took a big chunk of change to go join the competition. How'd that work out for you? I never felt bad about anything that I did. I never felt ashamed. I fought and I stayed because that's how revolutions are made. They're made in the trenches, not by cowards who abandon their families. And you want to come back in here and you want to wave the flag with us? No way. You can't big brother me anymore because I'm the damn big brother.
So you're gonna have to show up and be a Roman Reigns like never before. The most violent, the most diabolical, the most dangerous, a beast slayer, a conqueror's conqueror, the goat of all goats. So that they say at the end of the match, ladies and gentlemen, you're a winner. The ultimate needle mover, the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns.
Acknowledge me.
You heard it here first. CM Punk got this in the bag, or at least that's what this little motherfucker hopes. But all jokes aside, WrestleMania 41 hasn't offered us a wide variety of matches to care about, but the ones we do care about, go damn it, are pure fire, and I can't wait for this edition of the event. CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns are three generational superstars whose resumes deserve any kind of spotlight at any event. But even though they all deserve it, I really hope CM Punk wins this fight, and my reasons will be clear in this video. But before we get to our content, I would just like to humbly ask you to subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up, because that really helps our video to be distributed and so we can continue this work. Now let's get to the content.
Let's fucking go.
If there's one thing that the road to WrestleMania 41 has done excellently, it's capitalize on nostalgia for the storytelling of its rivalries. John Cena's heel turn, definitely the highlight of the event, is based on the 2 decades in which he was the good guy of the good guys. And his second main attraction, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns, is a story whose depth is definitely amplified by the history of these 3 characters inside and outside the ring. And precisely thinking about the past of these 3, I believe that CM Punk should be the winner, because I believe he is the central point of this rivalry. But to better explain my point, I'm gonna narrate the story of each one's rivalry individually. And at the end of the video, you tell me if you agree or not with the point of view. So, well, let's go. The story between the 2 begins many years ago, when Seth Rollins was only 16 years old and asked Punk to train him. He was obviously just a teenager and could not offer any financial return for this training. But recognizing the immense talent that the boy had, Punk decided to help him, and it was definitely a crucial factor in his career.
A 16-year-old Seth Rollins came to CM Punk and asked him to train him to be a professional wrestler for free.
When Seth Rollins was on NXT, Punk, just like today, was one of the most famous wrestlers in the world, while Seth was still trying to find his place. So the fact that CM Punk participated in several moments at the beginning of his career, including winning the NXT Tag Team title with him in 2012. This moment did little to add to his popularity at that time, but for Seth Rollins, it was a true milestone in his career, an opportunity that very few wrestlers at the beginning of their careers would have. The 2 cultivated a personal relationship where CM Punk served as a mentor to Seth, including being the leader of The Shield, which, as everyone knows, was the stable that brought Rollins to WWE. Everything seemed to be going well, until the problems that CM Punk had with WWE also started to affect their relationship. Punk, as everyone knows, has the exact profile of a rebellious employee. He doesn't mince words when criticizing what he sees is wrong, and on a larger scale, he even leaves his job, as happened in 2014. This whole story would need an entire video to tell, but since it is also important for our video today, I will try to summarize it as much as I can. The first reason was the way he was being treated by the company, which, according to him, forced him to work long hours, even when he was injured.
And I just looked Vince in the eye and I said, I do not love this anymore. I'm sick. I'm hurt. I'm confused. I don't know as a business what we're doing anymore. Every day you tell me this is a team effort, but every day it's a individual effort by me to find what's necessary to even come here. I said it's not fun. I have zero passion for this. I'm concussed. I'm hurt. And all you care about is what segment I am and how soon I can get my gear on and when I can pee in this cup. And I don't want to do it anymore.
And the second reason was multiple creative disagreements with the company, which we'll talk more about a little later.
And I remember telling Vince, like, hey, we should ride this to Mania, or if I have to drop the title to Rock, let's do a three-way. To me, it was always about what's next. Who am I working with next? I think when they call a meeting, Vince will probably like, what's next for Cena? Because that's all he cares about. I didn't want to turn heel. Vince came to me and was like, Rock's coming back and he wants to work a bad guy. And you're the champ. So it was either I turn heel or I drop the title to Daniel Bryan. And I was like, well, I would like to work Rock. You know, that sounds challenging. Let's, well, you'd have to turn heel. And I was like, I kept asking what was going on for Mania. Vince kept very disappointingly telling me that it was going to be the rematch between Cena and Rock. And I was just like, that's going to be awful. The Shield was my idea.
Yes, you heard right. According to Punk, the Shield was his idea, but we will talk about it later because it will be very important. But remember when I said Punk had creative differences with the company? Well, he wasn't the only one. These days, with WWE delivering great material that appeals to kids as well as older fans of the sport, it may have given some the impression that this was always the case. But it definitely wasn't that way back in 2013 and 2014. The need to maintain a PG-rated schedule has often made WWE silly, shallow, and downright boring. And this wasn't a feeling exclusive to Punk, but to a good part of the roster, including Seth Rollins. But do you know what made Punk different from the others? He was already a millionaire who had already achieved everything he could in the sport. World titles, recognition, and all of this could have contributed not only to a lack of motivation in itself, but he could afford to leave at any time, which is exactly what he did. But until then, what's the problem? Everyone is an adult. You can't hate a friend, especially a mentor, simply because he didn't want to stay in the same place as you. But well, that's where things get complicated.
I mean, he really was just a cancer to my career for many years while he was gone. He an intentional one, you know what I mean? He was a parasite. He really just wanted to it seemed like every time he could take a pot shot at me or the company, he was trying to. And so I never wanted to give that credence because I just kind of looked at him as like a troll. I'm like, I don't want to acknowledge these things because then it looks like they matter and they don't. But it did bother me internally, because, we were trying, dude, that roster from he leaves in 2014, right? I think. Mm-hmm. We were hustling, dude. We were trying our damnedest and we were given garbage a lot of the time. And we were making the best of it. And he was in a position where he'd made a bunch of money and could just dip and go. And there wasn't an alternative. AEW didn't exist at the time. There was nowhere else to go. What are we going to do? Just pack up and leave because CM Punk's feelings were hurt? Because that's what he wanted from guys. He didn't want people who were his friends to stay and work for the company because he felt like it was like it's some sort of betrayal to him.
So, a few points here are important. I've never heard Punk mention wanting the other people in the locker room to leave the company because he wanted to leave. But if he did, which I'm inclined to believe he didn't, it would have been a complete joke. It would be one thing for him, a millionaire, already worn out from the service and with his life secured to want to leave a job like that. But the reality is that basically no one on that roster would have that luxury. They were all still making a name for themselves, fighting to stay relevant and putting food on their tables. But if Punk didn't actually do that, it would be a huge joke to accuse him of such a cowardly act, someone who literally once was his mentor. To tell the truth, this is a sensitive topic, without many facts to be found. Just, he said, she said. So, if you have any kind of opinion, be sure to comment with us. But one thing is true, Rollins did indeed survive for many years under Punk's shadow.
I guess if I have to live in my shadow, I'd hate me too. Seth Rollins is extremely talented, multiple-time champion, Money in the Bank winner. Everything he did, I've done better, and I did it before he got here.
And things escalated further when CM Punk accepted a job on the WWE Backstage program, which was produced by Fox. And with that, among several comments, he also brought criticism to WWE, which Seth Rollins definitely did not accept well, and make the following tweet. And when asked, Punk simply replied,
Seth needs to stop tweeting and realize that sometimes it's better to be viewed at as the fool when you shut your mouth or you open your mouth and remove all doubt.
But things definitely heated up again when CM Punk returned to WWE at Survivor Series, which got the following reaction from Rollins. When he was asked why he had this reaction, he had the following to say.
What I wasn't happy about was Randy had just come back from a long hiatus. That was his moment. It was a great moment. And, you know, we went out there, there was 10 of us out there, and we went out there and had a hell of a contest. Just, it's the most classic, make everything about me CM Punk moment I've ever seen.
And at this point, it's very difficult to know how much Seth is talking about what he really feels and how much he's working, but I believe the feeling is that he believes that CM Punk left at a time when WWE was going through a terrible creative period, and those who remained did everything possible to make the program return to the artistic value it once had, and now that the programs are flying in terms of creative and ratings, CM Punk no longer has a place at the top. And because he wasn't part of the team that helped make wrestling good again, he's a kind of opportunist who shouldn't be at the top.
I fought and I stayed because that's how revolutions are made.
It's genuinely hard to draw a line between what's real and what's fictional between the two. And for me, that's the main factor that makes this rivalry so interesting. But I think it's good to point out one thing. Seth Rollins did live in CM Punk's shadow during his career. But I don't think that happened because CM Punk retired, or because of any negative comments he made about WWE or Rollins, but rather because CM Punk is better, he's more charismatic, his reigns were more intriguing, and he marked a generation at a time when WWE didn't really need it. To begin telling the rivalry between these two, I need to go back to a point I mentioned at the beginning that I would bring up later.
What happened was, at the time, the head writer was Eric Pankowski. He called me up one day and he was like, okay, nobody knows you're going to turn heel, but we want to stick a stable with you. We want to give you Big Show as your heater. I immediately groaned. I love Show to Death, but that's not a good idea. They wanted to put Daniel Bryan with me. I groaned. I said Daniel should be kept as far away from me as possible because if anything, me and him should be like Brett and Shawn. You know what I mean? We can be far apart. So I took the idea to Hunter, took it to Vince, they agreed. You know, Vince was immediately like, who do you have in mind? And I said, Ambrose, Rollins, Chris Hero. Hunter shot down Hero. They wanted Roman Reigns. They came to me and they're like, what about Liaki? And I was like, you know, like wasn't my hill to die on. I said, sure, because it made sense to me. Oh, they want their guy in, he's the pretty guy, but that's good because this guy can learn from working under me. The idea was they were supposed to be my group. Things change. They like to take other people's ideas and make it their own idea and then tout how awesome that they are.
It's funny to think that Punk didn't see much of a future in Roman at first, and how wrong he was in that view. It would be smart of WWE, and it would certainly add new layers to the rivalry to bring this up in future segments, but I doubt they would officially credit the creation of the Shield as his idea. But one point that will definitely have an influence on this storyline also occurred well before Roman made his debut.
When I walked into this company, and I've been vilified and hated since that day because Paul Heyman saw something in me that nobody else wanted to admit. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy.
Paul Heyman has represented several superstars, even Curtis Axel. Remember that crap? But certainly, one of his most iconic and sentimentally speaking, perhaps the greatest, ties was with CM Punk. Heyman was with Punk during his journey as a villain and having one of the greatest reigns as WWE champion in history. And the clues that this old relationship will have an influence on the rivalry for WrestleMania 41 are already there. When Roman attacked Seth and Punk in their match, Heyman hugged an injured Punk, which generated a strange look from rings. And on the last War Games, Punk thanked Heyman for giving him his boy on a platter and reminded him that he still has a favor to be collected. And I genuinely wish that favor would be collected at WrestleMania, with Heyman turning on Roman and helping Punk win the match. And so we could have Punk alongside Heyman and Roman feuding over more events. I honestly think that would be fire. But that's just a wish, of course. To make my point, even though Roman and Rollins started out in the same stable, Punk is in some ways the focal point of this feud and has a more individually interesting story with each of them, for different reasons. And I hope he gets that moment at WrestleMania, because let's be honest, it's not like CM Punk is gonna be in that many more. That was our video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it and stayed until here, consider subscribing to the channel, as that would give an absurd moral. Stay well, and until the next video,